All right, Nuggets fans, welcome into Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends over at BETONLINE. I am your host, Ryan Blackburn at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network, and I am here. I am ready to discuss the Denver Nuggets. I've got a little bit of a different layout here on the screen. Decided to do away with the title because every time I tried to put up a comment at the bottom, it was cutting me off, and it was not very visible. So just trying to come up with the better layout. This kind of matches the Locked On layout a little bit better, and I think it's a little bit more balanced, and we'll have a better, more interactive show as a result. But should be fun. I'm excited to get into things here. This podcast is going to be mostly about Julian Strawther and the injury that came out yesterday that he suffered on Sunday. We'll talk about the ramifications of that. Peyton Watson coming back. I've got some season net ratings, two-man net ratings that I want to share. And then we will preview tonight's matchup against the Sacramento Kings. Should be good. Always enjoy doing this. And just very excited to get into the flow and just dive deep a little bit into what's to come for this Denver Nuggets team. Always excited to see the folks in here. Man, it really is just Cedric right now. Cedric, thanks for popping in, man. It says this team is losing so many quick. We're depleted now without many bench players. And then we've got a super chat from definitely not Cedric. Mr. Exquisite Nugget with 199. Feels like we have a bad case of the injury bug, Ryan. You know what? There's actually some argument against that. It just feels like it because Denver has one guy out or two guys out at every single moment of the season so far, or at least it feels like it. But yeah, so like Denver hasn't been able to play fully healthy, but they've had like 8 of their 9 top guys healthy for the most part, 7 of their 9 top guys for the most part. A lot of these other teams, you'll see them just throw out the walking wounded team, where they'll not be able to do anything at all because, like, I think back to the Memphis Grizzlies last year when you had Ja out, Bane out, Jaren Jackson Jr. out, Marcus Smart was sidelined the entire year, Brandon Clark had a torn Achilles. Like, you have all of those guys, a team that is challenging for the top 4 in the West right now, all of those guys out, and obviously that team feels a little bit different now than they did last year. But yeah, Denver, they're okay. And the fact is that Denver doesn't have a lot of depth to begin with. So when you lose one guy or two guys, it matters that much more. Teams like Memphis have a lot of depth, and that definitely helps when you're trying to build some of these lineups and rotations and survive an absence or two. But either way, Denver, I think, like, they're going to have to learn some stuff about being without Julian Strawther. Fortunately, Peyton Watson should be returning soon, according to Peyton Watson, and we will see how it goes. But for right now, let's pay some bills really quick. This podcast, as you guys know, it's brought to you by BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025, whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor. They're your ultimate game day companion and have the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to NHL and UFC. BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. Make sure to go check them out for every play and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. Once again, I'm your host, Ryan Blackburn. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you pop in here. And if you're listening on the audio side, make sure to put a 5-star review down. Would obviously very, very appreciate it. We'll definitely go check those after the pod because I know I talked about that a little bit ago, and we'll want to make sure to credit the folks that are doing so. So thank you so much. There are folks that are clearly moving in right outside my door. So apologies if you're hearing a whole bunch of banging and noises. I will do my best to stay as not distracted as possible. Okay, as I've written, talked about, done shows about, Julian Strawther is going to be out for a month. Has suffered the knee sprain that he had on Sunday, And that is going to be an uncomfortable reality for Denver that they have to face. And it's not for the reasons that people think. Like, again, kind of like what Cedric getting at the beginning of the show. Denver, they have so little flexibility because they have so little depth overall that any absence is going to hurt them. Any little thing, because if you put too much pressure on each of the other individual bench guys, then you're going to be in a tough place. You're going to be in a spot where sometimes those guys just don't perform up to your standard. And if they don't, then you're leaving yourself open to a loss unless the starters play as well as they have at times, but probably not as frequently lately. Denver is in a tough spot, especially with the matchups that they have to play. I think it was so yesterday I put out a tweet that per Tankathon, Denver still has the fifth toughest schedule, the fifth most difficult schedule per Tankathon via like remaining strength of schedule in SOS. And that to me makes sense because Denver has played a relatively easy schedule through the first 3.5, 4 months of the season from a strength standpoint. It's why so many of the folks that like when you're like me, you're pointing out, hey, here's a measuring stick game. Here's an opportunity for Denver to show. They've failed pretty much every single one of those tests. And so they keep standing out, but it's because they haven't happened that often. Denver's played Charlotte multiple times. They've played Utah multiple times. They've played New Orleans multiple times, Portland 3 times. Like they've played all of these teams a whole bunch, especially at the bottom of the playoff picture. And it's just not surprising to me that now there's just a lot of feeling about these last few weeks of the season and how important they are for Denver, both in terms of maintaining their standing, but also in terms of showing who they are and how good they can be. And Julian Strawther was a piece of that. He's not a large piece of that. I don't want to blow it out of proportion, but he was a guy who played every single night. And not having him is going to be an impact because of his skill set. Because, like, think about it this way. A lot of the advanced analytics would tell you that Julian Strawther shouldn't play over Jalen Pickett. He does anyway. And the biggest reason is because of the shooting. It's because of the dynamics of having a guy that can do the things that he does rather than the player who he actually is right now. And so often, like, think about the way that teams guard Steph Curry. It's like he shoots 50% from 3, and when he takes 15 of them a game, and you're going to get demolished because teams, like, they know that they have to run out on him. He's never actually shot 50% from 3 in a season. He's never actually shot 15 threes in a season, but it feels that way. And for Julian Strawther, because everybody else, except for maybe Murray and Porter, can't really space the floor to the degree that he does, it feels like he is a massively important piece for Denver to get going most of these nights. Other teams see that too. Other teams know that too. They know who he is. He is on the game plan. He is one of the main focal points for when Denver's non-Jokic minutes come up. And it's pretty clear that Denver has to find other ways to be successful now. They don't have another wing that they can trust. They don't have another wing that they can have go out there and be like, all right, we're going to need you to score 15 points. With Julian Strawther, you could at least see the possibility of him doing that. With other guys, I don't really think that you can. Like, that's just not their game. Like right now, I'll pull it up on the screen right now so that people can see. Denver's projected 10-man rotation right now with Strawther out for me. It includes, so you've got your normal starters of Murray, Brown, Porter, Gordon, Jokic, but you've got Jalen Pickett, Russell Westbrook, Peyton Watson, Zeke Naji, DeAndre Jordan. The other guys that are injured are Strawther, Flacco, and Deron Holmes. Even off the bench, like in the rest of their reserves, Dario Saric, Hunter Tyson, Trey Alexander, PJ Hall, Spencer Jones, like none of those guys fill the role or anywhere close to it that Julian Strawther was filling. So Denver's got to get creative. They've got to find opportunities to be better. And I am curious to see how they handle it, because we knew this kind of going into the year. Julian Strawther had to play because Denver didn't have another shooting guard. So we knew this. And this was one of the worries at the beginning of the year. Denver had too many bigs, too many front court players, and not enough guards. And like, for a team that had won a championship playing as many wings as they did, KCP, Bruce Brown, Christian Brown, Justin Holiday last year, you would think that there would be more of an emphasis on wing play, on guys that are as versatile as possible. Like, yes, they have Peyton Watson, and yes, he's coming back, and I'm very curious to see what he does going forward. But I do think that there's it's kind of an awkward thing here. So Denver's going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to adapt. And I've talked about this. I've written about this. I think they're going to have to get more creative. They're going to have to get more defensive. They're going to have to become a team. And this is the opportunity without Julian. I wrote about this a little bit last night for a Locked On thing. There are 9 players, or we'll say 10 players in Denver's rotation that I just named. 3 of those I think you could consider targets, and they are on the defensive end. They're Murray, Porter, and Jokic. They're targets in different ways to different degrees, but they are targets. Off the bench, is Jalen Pickett a target? Not really. Maybe if somebody wants to post him up as a 6'6", 6'7" guy, and he's only 6'2", maybe that's an opportunity. Is Russell Westbrook a target? No. Is Peyton Watson a target? No. Is Zeke Naji a target? No. Is DeAndre Jordan a target? Not really. They'll try to space him out and pick and roll, but Denver can account for that. They've been accounting for Jokic for years. So there are opportunities for Denver to become a more defensive, well-rounded unit without Strawther. Because say what you want about him, and I've given him as much credit as I can, he is a target on the defensive end, and somebody that the Nuggets have needed to hide at times. Now they don't need to hide him. Now they just need to play a defensive guy instead. And Denver will stagger. They'll play Murray with him. They'll play Murray with the bench continuously. They'll play Porter with the bench a little bit more. Christian Brown has staggered with the bench. Aaron Gordon, when he comes back, will stagger with the bench too. All of these guys will play pretty consistently in bench units as well as starting units, because Michael Malone has been forced to get more creative this year. I think it's something that he has done that not enough people have given him proper credit for. There are things to be critical of, but Malone not getting creative enough with rotations is definitely not one of them. So Denver has an opportunity if they want to, if Murray and Porter and Jokic especially are willing to kind of opt into that and buy in to what they're trying to do. Denver has an opportunity to become a top 10 defense now. I genuinely believe that. They have been the 16th to 20th to 23rd defense for a while now. And I just don't think that reflects how good they can be, especially without Julian out there. You replace him with a guy like Peyton Watson, who, look, you've seen what Zeke Naji can do. You've seen what Jalen Pickett can do. Russell Westbrook has been helpful. Peyton Watson might be their best defender on the team, bar none. So you add him to the mix, and I think that there's an opportunity here for Denver to get creative. I really do. I also think that Denver should be trying to play Peyton Watson at the 2. They should try to play the following lineup: Murray, Watson, Porter, Gordon, Jokic. And the other one there, Murray, Watson, Porter, Naji, Jokic. You've got 2 guys in Peyton Watson and Zeke Naji who are not great offensive players. But what you've seen from Denver is that they can rise to the occasion, offensively, with just Jokic and Murray and maybe Porter. And then if you get as good of defenders as you possibly can next to those guys, you have an opportunity to kind of balance what is an offensive group with some defensive players. And I think that will be important for the Nuggets to consider over the course of these next few weeks. They're not going to get back Peyton Watson, or they're not going to get back Julian Strawther for a little bit. They are going to be in a pretty tough spot, I'll say. He'll be back like maybe game 76 if the thing kind of if it points out like to the right place. Game 76 is April 1st. That is exactly 4 weeks from when the notice came out. So there is an opportunity for Strawther to get back before the playoffs, and maybe he gives himself an opportunity there. But I don't know. I'm a little bit shaky on it. I think that there's some definitely shaky aspects of that, and I am very curious to see how Denver handles themselves. When we come back, we are going to discuss a couple of things. We're going to go over the two-man net ratings that I often go over. This is the 3/4 mark of the season. Time for another two-man net rating chart. And then we're going to preview the Sacramento Kings and Denver Nuggets game tonight. Their first came back in a little bit. We will be right back on Pickaxe and Roll. But first, I got to tell you all, this podcast, as you know, it's brought to you by SCL Mortgage, helping hundreds of people just like you achieve their dreams. Truly a one-stop shop for all of your residential mortgage needs. If you're self-employed, if you need a payment assistance or looking for a second mortgage, SCL Mortgage specializes in assisting people with unusual financing needs, as well as those with great credit. Hundreds of customers, 5-star reviews, and A+ Better Business Bureau rating shows the pride they take in their work. Call 303-790-2222 or visit myspecialmortgage.com. Again, SCL Mortgage, 303-790-2222. Let them know that you came from Mile High Sports. We'll be right back here on Pickaxe and Roll. All right, we're back. Pickaxe and Roll. That was not supposed to happen. Ryan Blackburn here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Appreciate the love and support on the podcast, folks. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. There's a couple comments on Justin Holiday. I would love Justin Holiday back. I think he would be great. I do also, and like 42 Ultra says it here, wasn't Booth trying to prevent Malone from playing Justin Holiday too much? I don't know if that's true. I don't know. But you've seen that before where general managers try to protect their head coaches from doing what is not in the team's best interest in the seriously long term, or immediate long term is what I would describe this as, like by the end of the season. Because the Nuggets needed Strawther to be as ready as possible for this playoff run. Ultimately, it doesn't look like that's what's going to happen. But if they had played Justin Holiday over Julian Strawther extensively between game 1 and game 61, where they are right now, Strawther would not have made the progress that he has made. And he has made, he's shot more efficiently from every single spot than he did as a rookie. So we'll see what happens with his growth for the rest of his career, next season especially. But I'm curious to hear that behind the scenes. Was that a move that was made intentionally? Denver didn't really have an open roster spot, so it's not like they were giving somebody else Justin Holiday's roster spot to me. They needed Russell Westbrook to replace Reggie Jackson. They had Deron Holmes. He effectively replaced Justin Holiday. And Dario Saric was the other guy that, maybe they just shouldn't have gotten Dario. If they had given Dario's money to Justin Holiday, maybe Denver would just be a better team right now. They'd certainly be more prepared for the playoffs, I think. But either way, Water under the bridge. We can't talk about it now. I don't want to talk about it now, frankly. Let's get into the 3/4 season 2-man net ratings. If this is too small for everybody, then I apologize. You know what? It is actually too small. Let me try to edit this window really quickly, and we will do our best to make it better. Yeah, this is a little bit too small, but hopefully that's a little bit better. I know it looks janky up here, but is what it is. So this is their latest 2-man net rating chart. If you have followed me on socials, you know that I post this every 20 games. It's 1/4 of the season. And the previous one, it looked pretty similar to this. There were some aspects like guys have played different amounts of minutes. But in general, you can see Strawther in the middle of that thing, minus 1.5 net rating when he's on the floor. When he's out there with Jokic, it's fine. When he's out there with Christian Brown, it's fine. When he's out there with everybody else, it's effectively not fine. That can definitely be it's a negative thing. Like Strawther has been a negative at times, especially when playing with some of these early season bench units. Now, only minus 7.5 with DeAndre Jordan is survivable. That is survivable for sure. And Nuggets fans need to get that in their heads that that's an okay number. Now, what's not okay is Westbrook and DeAndre Jordan now minus 11.4. DeAndre Jordan as a whole is a minus 6.7. It's been worse before. And if you remember where Zeke Naji was prior to this last 20 games, he was at like minus 25, minus 30. And the fact that he's turned it around to the degree that he has, to the point where it's like, hey, here's a massively positive number with Jalen Pickett, with Christian Brown, with Nikola Jokic, that's really encouraging to me. Zeke Naji has proven that he's a power forward, first and foremost, that he is a guy that can help, that he's a defensive option. He doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective, and he can be a positively impactful piece for a team like the Nuggets that needs defense, that needs athleticism, that needs physicality, that needs big bodies at times. But you've got Christian Brown all the way on the left, Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter, Jamal Murray. Jokic is a double-digit positive with everybody except Hunter Tyson, who he is a negative with. That is a denigration of Hunter Tyson at this point, because it's really hard to be negative when playing with Jokic, and the Nuggets have, like, Hunter's figured it out. He's got to be better, or else he's going to be gone. Russell Westbrook, plus 12.7 with Jokic is still a very good number. However, it is no longer the highest number on the Nuggets like it had been previously, or pretty close to it. Michael Porter is still one of the highest numbers, but surprisingly, of the main group, the highest 2-man net rating is between Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown. That's wild to me. Like, it doesn't even include Jokic. But when those guys play, it's often because they are playing with Jokic. And even if it's not, like, they're playing in bench units that make sense. A lot of times they are bench units that you're trying to prop up what you can for a playoff unit, where maybe it's DeAndre Jordan plus the other 4 starters. We've seen Denver play like that before. But I do like that Denver has, gosh, they are just so loud out there. I do like that Denver has found, like, Christian Brown is effectively like their KCP, where he doesn't have great chemistry with DeAndre Jordan, but almost everybody else he is a positive with. And that's kind of how KCP was for Denver, from at least a statistical standpoint. So credit to him. But the other factor here, so Russ's only major real positive is with Jokic. The other guys, like, his next highest is 8.5 with Gordon. Obviously, those minutes are almost majority with Jokic as well. But Westbrook's numbers when you kind of break it into the Jokic and non-Jokic minutes are so stark that like what Russ fans want because of that is for him to just play 30 minutes with Jokic. Why wouldn't he play 30 minutes with Jokic? It's a plus 12.7 or whatever it is. Like, why not do that? The problem is that Denver, and we saw this against the Celtics, we saw this against the Lakers. When you play Russ and Christian with Jokic, teams are going to adjust who they are, and they're going to make themselves as like paint focused as possible, because Christian and Russ, their best skill is cutting, and they're cutting in front of each other and around each other. There was a turnover that Jokic threw in that Celtics game because he was trying to pass to Michael Porter, but it was actually a turnover because both Russ and Christian Brown cut into the same space at the same time. And that's crazy to me. So it's not that crazy, but like it happens, and it's going to happen more because those guys have a very similar cutting mentality and not a spacing mentality. And when they space, they haven't been as effective for obvious reasons. So Denver's got to figure that out. And to me, the answer is to reduce Westbrook's minute load a little bit and to focus more on Peyton Watson for the while. But like, there is no great answer here. That's the unfortunate reality that Denver's having. Like, Russ is not the answer. He's a different question. Peyton Watson is not the answer. He's a different question. Julian Strawther, same thing. Zeke Naji, same thing. Maybe the only answer is Jalen Pickett, man. Look at that column, the second column to the right. Jalen Pickett's net rating so far this season in 300 minutes or so, plus 20.4 net rating. Some of that, this actually doesn't include garbage time because this all comes from cleaning the glass. So like, this is real minutes. Now they're mostly against sub 500 teams, as many Russ fans have made sure to point out to me. But it is fascinating to see Pickett be so impactful. And even in that Celtics game, he came in late, immediately made a positive impact. It wasn't because he did anything special. It was because he made the plays that he needed to make. He rotated, he boxed out, he was a smart ball mover. He did what he needed to do. And so if I'm looking at this and I'm just looking at Pickett, this isn't something that tells me that he's ready for the playoffs. It's not something that tells me that he is like the future of the team. But what it does tell me is that he has a better opportunity than we ever thought possible, that he could just be their backup point guard of the future, which is awesome. Like, that was exactly the goal. The goal of adding Pickett was somebody who was stable, somebody who knows what he's doing, can play a little bit of defense, but also is like a facilitator and can create offense for other guys. And don't tell Santa Cruz says it here. Pickett is actually the reason Murray got going. I don't know if that's fully true, but he definitely got some shots as a result, and he definitely was set up reasonably well. And the good thing about Pickett is that when he doesn't have the ball in his hands, he's still a capable three-point shooter, which is more than Russ can really say. This is not to say that Pickett should play over Russ. The stats would say that. I'm not saying that. I am saying that when Denver, like, they're going to be faced with some tough decisions in this offseason. One of the easier ones to me is probably going to let Pickett be the backup point guard, or at least like the 9th or 10th man in the rotation on a more consistent basis than he has been right now. How they build out the rest of their roster, that's a mystery to me still. But I do think that Pickett is the exact kind of guy that, like, after figuring some stuff out, getting his confidence back, he's the exact kind of guy that the Nuggets should be trying to include. A low mistake player who can play different positions, who can do different things, who can make the burden easier on the stars. That's exactly the kind of guy that they should want. So hopefully they can keep that going. But either way, check out this two-man net rating combo. I will post this on Twitter as well after the show. But for now, let's do one more final thing. Nuggets Kings preview. there's a lot of injuries that have happened. Denver's actual lineup that they are going to throw out there, I still have it projected as the main starters, but Jokic and Gordon are both questionable. Nikola Jokic has left ankle inflammation, and Aaron Gordon is still recovering from an ankle sprain that I'm not really sure when he suffered, but apparently it held him out in the last game. The Kings are without Domantas Sabonis. He is out. Malik Monk is also questionable. So it is possible that they go from like a team that could definitely upset Denver to a team that maybe could upset Denver, but probably won't still. But they are still dangerous. Like right now, the starting lineup that I have for Sacramento, if Malik Monk plays, is Malik Monk, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray, and Jonas Valanciunas, who they traded for, if you recall. They also added Markelle Fultz, and so he's going to be their backup point guard for a while. Keon Ellis is still there. He's a great defender and versatile player. Jake LaRavia is somebody that they traded for. He's actually figured some stuff out after being a disaster in Memphis early in his career. And then Trey Lyles. So like they have a solid rotation. Is it great? No. But it's a rotation that if you don't take it seriously, then they are going to beat you. So Denver, they can't fall into the trap of having played a whole bunch of playoff teams and now be like, okay, we have a break. That cannot happen. Now, it may not be Denver's choice. Like if Jokic doesn't play, then Denver's scrambling already. If Aaron Gordon doesn't play, changes things. If Zeke Naji, who's questionable, doesn't play, that changes things. Peyton Watson is questionable. He'll probably come back, but who knows? Vlatko Čančar, questionable. He might have an opportunity to come back. That would be awesome to see. I don't think that he's going to play in the rotation in this one. Just it doesn't make that much sense for him to do so. But if he did, how cool would that be? That would be great. Don't Tell Santa Cruz asks, Ryan, do you think Vlatko actually contributes anything? No, I don't really have that much faith right now. He's only played 4 games so far this season. He played 0 last season because of the injury that he had. It's been 2 years since he's played real basketball. And I hope that he proves me wrong. I would love, like, guys, you don't know how awesome Vlatko is. He is such a nice person. I remember back in 2019 when Vlatko, so he was just coming over from Slovenia, from where he was. I don't actually remember where he was playing professionally. Maybe it was Slovenia. But there was a gala that was held by Tim Connolly's wife, Nega Connolly. And she was like hosting. It was just a gala. It was an opportunity for media to come and just hang out. And I had an invite. It was the first thing that I had ever done as like a full-time media member for the Nuggets. And I got to talk to Vlatko for like 10 minutes. He was like just chilling out. He's a super cool guy, super fun guy. Took shots with Gary Harris. That was cool. So there's a lot of stories behind the scenes at some of those places that are pretty fun. But everybody like wanted to be there. And Vlatko is just super, super nice. And just a guy that's willing to give you the time of day, even if you don't look like a guy that could dribble a basketball a whole heck of a lot. Even though I used to. But he's an awesome player. He's somebody who has had injuries just interrupt his entire tenure. And I hope that he gets an opportunity to prove people wrong. It would be super cool if he played in the playoffs and actually like made an impact. I don't think he can. And I honestly don't think that he's going to stick in the NBA after the season. But if he does, that would be like it would be because he deserves it, I think. And I hope he gets there. But yeah, Denver's going to have to figure some stuff out. Zach LaVine is going to be tough to guard for Denver versus Sacramento. Christian Brown's got his hands full with that. Curious to see how Michael Porter bounces back. Curious to see whether Russell Westbrook can bounce back a little bit. He should be going up against Markelle Fultz, who's played 5 total games in the NBA this season and has like a 30% turnover rate. Russell Westbrook should be able to take advantage of that matchup. If he can't, that's a problem. Like, this is one where he should be able to shine. He should be able to dominate. Hopefully he can find a way. We will see. Ozair asks, hello, Ryan. I asked you about Peyton playing a 2 a week ago. I think he would be great with Pickett and Najee. Agreed. I think there's going to be another opportunity here for Peyton to play the 2 on a consistent basis. I think there's going to be an opportunity for, like, if he's going to play, like, hypothetically in that lineup, it's Pickett, Watson. Let's say it's Michael Porter, Zeke Najee, and DeAndre Jordan. Like, I could see that lineup being okay. Again, it's not a ton of talent, but it's a pretty good defensive group in theory. Like, they should be able to find some opportunities to guard, should be able to find some opportunities to make an impact on the defensive end, turn defense into offense. And Pickett's going to have, like, that would be a tough place for him to be, but hell, maybe Peyton Watson shows out in that situation. So we'll see. We will see what happens, but I'm curious to see how they handle it. All right, folks, that is going to do it for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends over at BetOnline and SCL Mortgage. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. Denver's got their game tonight. We will see if they can bounce back from a loss against Boston. I am curious to see how they handle it. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate the love and support as always. We'll talk to you guys very soon.